When Claire said those words, her voice was calm, almost practiced. She didn't shout, didn't tremble. She just looked at me across the kitchen table, hands folded, and declared that she wanted to live for herself now. I remember the faint hum of the refrigerator behind her and the smell of coffee gone cold. For years, I'd carried our marriage like a weight I didn't mind lifting. Late nights, long hours, the quiet sacrifices no one applauds. I didn't expect gratitude, but I expected partnership. Instead, I watched her drift subtle at first. More nights out with the girls. More texts she'd hide behind tilted screens. More excuses that felt rehearsed. When I asked what was wrong, she said she felt suffocated, that she needed space, that maybe she'd lost herself trying to be a wife. Those were her words. Lost myself. I thought giving her space might help. I stopped asking where she went, stopped reaching for her hand at night, stopped trying to guess why her phone was always face down. I told myself love means trust. But love, when only one person holds it, is just self-inflicted blindness. The night before her declaration, she came home late again. Her perfume hit first, then the faint trace of cologne I didn't own. She moved past me like I was furniture. No greeting, no eye contact, just silence wrapped in guilt. That morning, she chose honesty or her version of it. She said, "I want to live for myself without you." I stared at her for a long time, then said, "Go ahead, but not in my house. Not on my time, and not with my name." She blinked. Maybe she thought I'd beg or cry, the way I used to. But something inside me had gone still. Love can roar, but it can also die quietly. For years, I'd been the one asking her to stay. That day, I became the one showing her the door. She laughed, a short, brittle sound. "You'd really throw me out after everything?" she asked. I looked at her, really looked, and saw a woman who had long stopped being my partner. I said, "You already left, Claire. You just forgot to move your things." Her lips parted, but no words came. She walked upstairs, maybe to pack, maybe to cry. I didn't follow. I just sat there, tracing the rim of my coffee cup, realizing how final silence can feel. When she finally came down, she didn't look angry anymore, just distant. "You'll regret this," she said. I almost smiled. "I already did," I replied. That afternoon, she left. No dramatic goodbye, no slam door, just the soft click of a car starting and the faint echo of something ending. For a few days, I felt empty. Not sad, just hollow. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that stretches time. I went through her things, boxed up her clothes, her books, her perfumes. Each object felt like an echo of the person I used to know. But then something shifted. I realized how peaceful the silence had become. No arguments, no tension, no pretending. I started waking up early again, cooking breakfast for one, walking the dog without checking my phone. The air in the house felt lighter, as if it had been holding its breath for years. And then one evening, 2 weeks later, I received a message. It was from an unknown number. Just a photo, Claire sitting at a bar, her hand over another man's. No caption, no context. I didn't feel rage or heartbreak, just confirmation. The truth I'd suspected now had a face. I stared at that photo for a long moment. The lighting, the smirk, the careless way her fingers curled over his hand. It said everything words never could. I didn't reply. I didn't call. I just set the phone down, turned off the screen, and sat in silence. Sometimes the truth doesn't hurt. It just confirms what you already knew deep down but refused to admit. For years, I'd been fighting to keep something alive that had already stopped breathing. That night, I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat on the porch, and thought about all the times I'd apologized for things I didn't do. The times I took blame just to keep peace. The times I forgave what I couldn't prove. And I realized I wasn't losing her. I was releasing myself. Days passed and the world didn't end. I started fixing the house. The creaky door, the loose tiles, the little things I'd ignored while trying to fix a woman who didn't want to be fixed. I reconnected with old friends I'd pushed away. I began to remember what it felt like to laugh without waiting for permission. Then one morning she showed up. No warning, no call. just the sound of her car in the driveway. I opened the door before she could knock. She looked different, not better, not worse, just like someone who'd been living in borrowed peace. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I stepped aside. "You have 5 minutes." She glanced around the living room, like she was searching for a ghost of herself. "You moved everything," she said. "I had to," I replied. "You left too much behind." Her eyes flicked to me. "I thought you'd call." I almost laughed. "Why? You made it clear you wanted to live for yourself." "I just gave you the freedom to do it." She hesitated. "It's not what I thought it would be. I miss the way things were." There it was, the line that comes when consequences catch up. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 1,000 times, imagining anger, satisfaction, maybe even triumph. But what I felt was something simpler, detachment. "Claire," I said quietly, "you didn't miss me. You missed stability. You missed a man who carried what you broke." Her lips trembled, but I kept my voice steady. "You wanted to live for yourself. You still can. Just not here." Tears welled in her eyes. "You really don't love me anymore?" I looked at her, not the woman I'd loved, but the memory of her. Love doesn't survive betrayal. It just mutates into self-respect. She stepped closer, maybe hoping for one last thread to pull. But there was nothing left to unravel. She nodded slowly, wiped her eyes, and whispered, "I didn't think you'd ever let go." "I didn't either," I said, "until you gave me every reason to." She turned and walked out. No drama, no final plea, just the quiet acceptance that she'd gambled something irreplaceable and lost. When the door closed, the house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt mine. Weeks became months. I learned the beauty of solitude, the quiet power of choosing yourself without needing to explain it. I traveled, read, cooked badly, and laughed at it. I started to feel alive, not because someone loved me, but because I finally did. One evening, a friend asked if I'd ever take her back if she came again. I smiled and said, "You don't invite a storm back just because you miss the rain." I sometimes think of her, not with bitterness but with understanding. Some people aren't meant to destroy you. They're meant to teach you where your boundaries end and your worth begins. She wanted to live for herself. I let her. And in doing so, I learned how to live for myself too.